My story begins when another story ends. My real purpose, my essence came to life when my daughter was leaving her last breath of life in this world, in my arms. As I looked above and asked Hashem to give me strength, at that exact moment I felt a surge of power within me. It was an instant of godliness that left me a few seconds later when I realized my daughter was gone. Then I fell into a hole of darkness, of emptiness, of despair. I needed a hand to get up on my feet. I needed to breathe. I needed to close myself into my soul. I needed to travel all the roads of my past, to analyze my life, to walk backwards, to see myself as a child in my mother's arms, in my mother's womb. I needed to restart from zero. That is where I begin. I begin with baggage that I will carry forever on my shoulders, but this baggage is so precious that I will not let anyone take it away from me, and no one can ease this weight from me. Don't ask me if you can help me carry the load. Don't try to ease the pain by lifting it or not having it on me. It's my pride. It's my glory, and no one can share it with me. It's mine forever. I want to tell you my story, and I want to take you with me. Basically, I must have needed a few more days in my mother's womb, but my doctor needed to go skiing. I was born in Italy, so, Italians are very strict about their vacations, and I was supposed to be born on Christmas time. And they didn't want to take a chance. So my mother was asked to come to the hospital. She was induced. And after, 18 hours, she called my grandmother and she said, "I don't think I'll make it, so you'll have to take care of this child." And she made it. And I was born on the 23rd of December, and my doctor went skiing for his Christmas vacations. So my entry was a bit dramatic, and I guess I carry it with me. When I was born, the nurse went to my father, who was Canadian. He is Canadian. He didn't know Italian, and he said, "If she's going to be Mary, she will be named Mary." And my father said, "I don't think so." I was born in a beautiful family. My grandparents were the main supporters of Chabad in Italy. Thanks to them, they brought the shluchim, the Gorelics, to Italy. They were the main supporters. They were traditional, but they needed someone to take care of the Jews in Milan after the war. They were very close to the Rebbe. So basically, I had the best childhood, the best of both worlds. I was the first grandchild of the wealthy man in town, and I was raised with the kids of the shluchim. They were like my family. If I close my eyes, I see long white curtains waving in the big double room where I slept in my grandparents' home. My housekeeper, Rita, waking me up for breakfast. There was always some excitement in this big house, always something happening, a bar mitzvah, an engagement. Everything that was happening in the Jewish community in Milan had its roots in my grandparents' home. There were always flowers being sent, cakes, pizza. There were always people in and out of the house. My grandfather would sit in his office by the garden, smoking his cigar, distributing money to everybody that would come to ask. I loved hugging my grandfather and sinking my head in his wide shoulders. He smelled of Givenchy and cigar. To this day, I search for this combination and I can't find it. His smell is inside my heart. I had the best childhood. Even though I was an overweight child with a very skinny sister right after me. My dad worked in my parents' business, furs. I grew up seeing models, furs, getting ready for the big shows. I thought we were the royal family. I remember asking my mother, how will I get married one day? And my mother said, don't worry, they'll find you. Find me? Who's going to find me in Milan? Who knows where Milan is? There were no Jewish boys. I was 15. My life seemed perfect, not a war in the world. My grandparents will be there forever. Their house will be my house forever, and time will not change a thing. But it did. At the age of 15, I was sent to London Lubavitch school. My Chabad in school in Milan had no more classes. My parents didn't want to take a chance on me, so they sent me to Stamford Hill, a little bit different than Milan. The London Chabad school had my great aunt's name, the Ruth Lanzer Lubavitch School. I was sent to a family, and I was sleeping at the top floor of this house in Stamford Hill, and I hated it. I missed my home, I missed my parents. In school, they thought I came from a different planet. I spoke a different language. I didn't understand how they spoke. I didn't understand English. I wanted pasta, and they had Marmite. From that home, I was sent to another home. It was Mrs. Levine's house, a widow who lived with her granddaughter from America. We had the same name. She was Dasi, I was Hadassah. We were the same age and the same class. I entered a house on Paget Road. A feisty woman received me. She showed me my room with orange curtains, but I liked it. My new friend, Dasi, was totally different from me. She was a genius. She was amazing in math. She was amazing in sichas, in Yiddish, and she loved Michael Jackson. I was 179 and weighed meters, I don't know, it's in America, and weighed 85 kilos. Dasi was 156, weighed 45 kilos. We shared a name, we shared a grandmother now, and we shared a home. One night, Mrs. Levine wakes me up at 11 p.m. and she tells me, come to the bathroom. I said, oh, Lord, where have I landed? She tells me, you must come to the bathroom. I said, what's going on here? I'm sleeping. She said, I need you to do me a favor. The houses here are very frail. I put on the washing machine, and it's going on spinning now. But Dasi is too skinny. You got to sit on the washing machine. So that was my evening session, brushing my teeth, and sitting on the spinning washing machine so the house wouldn't fall apart. London was hard, but in the end, when I look back, there were amazing years. I had amazing teachers, Rabbi Lou, Rabbi Vogel, Dr. Lowenthal, and some of my best friends are from London. So when sometimes you have difficult beginnings, it only gets better. I asked my parents when I came back from London, I want to go to film school or journalism. They said, go to SEM and we'll talk about it. Finish school. I did. I went to Israel. I was sent to Bet Hana in Yerushalayim, and I hated it. I didn't have this whole falling in love with Israel, my land, nothing. I thought it was a backward country. There were jukim, like we call them. It was hot, and I didn't like the Israeli mentality. But I did it. I came back after SEM. I'm 17. I asked my parents, do you remember when I asked you how I will get married? So, and my parents said, don't worry, they'll find you. Okay. I started wandering from school to courses, interior design, and then I said, I want to go to filming school. I want to go to journalism. And my parents said, get married, he'll take care of you. Well, it wasn't so easy for me. My sister right below me, after me, fell in love when she was 19 with a 23-year-old Italian Sephardi guy, and she got married. I started working for Lehman Brothers. It doesn't exist anymore. Corporate events. I didn't even know what investment banking means. I got in from a back door. I was petrified. I was assistant of the CEO. I would come every day to office and put my chitas on my desk and just look at it the whole day. Protect me, please. I'm dying here. I don't know what's going on. They learned to appreciate me when they asked me to go to their restaurants and eat with them, because it's a must. We all eat together. I said, you come with me. Come, we'll have falafel. They loved it. Wow, what is this thing? It's delicious. That's when I learned that when you keep firm and do your thing the way it's supposed to be, people learn to respect you. That was my first lesson. My friends started to get married. I started flying around, shidduchim, parties. But I wasn't. I started becoming, what's wrong with her? You know, in the system. Why is she not getting married? She'll never find what she wants. She needs a tall guy, difficult, Chabad, but a little modern. She'll never find it. When I was 27 already, which was pretty late, now it's not anymore, we went to Israel. I told my parents, this is the last guy I'm going out. I don't care. I'm going to marry him. I don't care. I'll do it for you. I saw them suffering, literally were suffering. I had 2 sisters now getting married before me, younger. I think that looking back, this big sacrifice, I thought, of getting married just for them, well, he didn't want me. Guess what? I get a call that there's a guy called Hadassah Chen. He's tall, he's good looking, he's in the army, and he's Chabad. I said, it doesn't exist. You're talking to me about 4 different guys. We went out. I fell madly in love with him, finally. And he left me. He said, we're not from the same world. But I knew this is the guy I wanted. When we were leaving Israel, we had just broken up. I arrived at the airport. There was a little stand in the old airport in Ben Gurion. There was a guy, his name was David Chen. He used to stand for hours and put tefillin on the people who would come and go. He's also related to us. You know, all Russians' roots are related. As we were leaving, he said hello to my father, to my mother, and then he saw me and he says, "Why is she crying?" in Yiddish. And my father said, "Well, your grandson just broke her heart." So he said, "Was? Yossele?" That's the name. And I was looking at him like, "Yes." Because I can't believe this. I always used to wear sunglasses on my head. So he looked at me, smart guy, and he said to me, "You know what? In my house in Kfar Chabad, I have the biggest collection of sunglasses because everybody that usually stops by forgets their sunglasses. I have the best name, Armani, Versace, I didn't even know what it was. I see you're wearing sunglasses." I took off my sunglasses, I gave it to him, and I said, "Tell Yossi to bring them to me." And this is what happened. We got back together, we got married. We got married in Lag BaOmer in Milan. It was beautiful. My husband was in the army. He was an officer in the army. 1 week, and we were back to work. I was moved to Israel. The Israel that I hated so much. Suddenly, I'm just a newlywed, full of love, waiting for my husband to come home at night, learning how to get out of bed without touching the gun that we used to have under the bed. I had one daughter, we named her Elka. Then I had the second daughter, we named her Chaya Musia, to the shock of all our families who thought I would give a name like Francesca or Chiara, something very original Italian. And then we had a third daughter. Her name was Navi. And I cried. I wanted a son. I will hate myself forever for that cry. When Navi was 16 months, I took her to the doctor because she seemed pale. Everybody was telling me, "She looks so pale." I had a very busy day that day, and I had a wedding that night. So as the doctor was visiting her, I wasn't even looking. Suddenly, the doctor looked at me, and she said, "I want you to go to Shari Tzedek Emergency Hospital." I said, "Why?" She said, "Just go." From her eyes, I understood something was happening. I picked up my daughter, and I drove to Shari Tzedek. I canceled everything, carpools, everything. My husband was in Tel Aviv in the army base. I was taken from one doctor to another sonogram to a test. Nobody was talking to me. Nobody was telling me anything. I hardly knew well Hebrew. And then I was placed into a room by myself, and they told me, "Wait here." A doctor walks in, a young guy, I will never forget his face, with a little kippah. And you know, in Israel, they're pretty direct, you know? And he looked at me and he said, "La bat shelach," to your daughter, "yesh la gush." I didn't know what gush means. I said, "What is it?" He said, "Tumor." I said, "What? It's impossible. She's 16 months. He said, "It's called neuroblastoma. Call your husband and tell him to come here." My husband came from Tel Aviv. We were waiting for him. He saw me from far, and he understood something serious was going on. We hugged all together with my daughter, and he told me, "I never want to see you cry in front of her, ever." We were brought to the hospital, Hadassah Chen, the day after. I was brought to one of the toughest floors in a hospital, I guess, which is oncology children. From my fairy tale life, suddenly, bam, reality. I was given a tour, and I was seeing kids with gray skin, with no hair. And I looked at them and I said, "This is not real. My daughter's not going to be like that. I know it. My daughter's going to leave soon, I know." And at the end of this whole tour, a guy looked at me with a long beard, and he said, "You're new here, right?" I said, "Yes." He goes, "Yeah, I can see." He showed me his daughter, who looked terrible, and she said, "Meet my daughter, Rivka. She has neuroblastoma." And I fainted. When they woke me up, they looked at me and my husband said, either we make it or we make it. We have to be strong and we have to be united. I'm telling you this because we all go through tough things. I'm not the only one, and I'm sure there's worse things you can go through. But in that moment, these are the moments that give you the strength to understand that you have to face something and you have to take your responsibility. And I said, I'm going to fight this until the end. I don't care. And every day from that day, I went to the hospital with makeup, with smiling. Thank God I had the luck to have my parents next to me who came, who helped me. My mother basically moved into my house. I had 2 other kids at home. I had my in-laws who helped me a lot. I was surrounded by incredible staff. My life became the hospital. We moved for 1 year in Hadassah Chen. And also that, things that you don't see in the media. Arabs, Jews in Israel in the hospital, we became all the same. We were exactly the same. My next neighbor in the room could be the Arab from Jenin. Shabbos became something incredible. The Jews would celebrate on the right and the Arabs on the left. I started becoming friendly with people from Yasharim who had 10 children and one was sick. We started talking about life. And then there were the Arabs praying and doing their prayers. But we would be all together suddenly, all talking, all sharing the same hope, the same dreams. And at night, when we would go to sleep, in Israel you don't have the privacy of having private rooms. There were curtains separating our beds, and I could hear in the middle of the night parents talking to their children, a husband to the wife. Do we have enough money to buy food for Shabbos? Can you defreeze some chicken from last week? Because when a child gets sick, everything stops. The husband doesn't work. There were 9, 10, 7 kids home in the other families, and I would listen to their conversation at night. I was lucky. I was surrounded by everything I needed. My only focus was Navi. Navi was strong. She was courageous. She would hold herself not to cry. She would just tell me, Mama, po, to sit next to her. We went through a surgery. We thought she was okay. She's over it. And then on Sukkot, she had a relapse. And we understood that it was bad. Navi passed away exactly a year later after she was diagnosed with neuroblastoma on the first night of Hanukkah. Her initials, Navarot, make the word ner, which is candle. That's when I decided that I'm going to be and carry that candle on for her. She was my candle, my light, and I'm going to continue. In fact, when Navi left, she left such a light that I just couldn't stop staring at it. It was in front of my face. We started a foundation to help families with sick children, remembering those stories and conversation I would hear at night of parents not having money to buy, not toys for their child, diapers. We wanted to help other families in her name. And every time a case was presented to us, I was happy. And I was going to these families and thank them. They were thanking me, and I was thanking them to give me the opportunity to do something in the name of Navi. But you know what? Do you remember that I wanted to do journalism? I thought to myself, I'm not going to let this destroy my life, end it. I'm going to start again. Happens to be that one of the people that came to visit Navi was a singer called Yaakov Shweki, who's pretty big in the religious world. Navi's favorite song was one of his. A year later, after Navi passed away, we went to one of his concerts because we had become friends. And I said to him, you know, as he was going on stage, I said to him, That last video clip that came out, it was horrible. He looked at me and he said, "You're knocking on an open door. I'm going on stage and I'm singing my new song. Send me a script and we see we can work together." Navi was starting to spread her light, her magic. Things were suddenly happening around me. I found myself suddenly making my dreams come true. I'm directing a music video. I have a staff, all men. When they say that Jewish women, religious women can't work in a man's world, believe me, they were all listening to me like little ducks. And I had another baby right after, which was the best thing, our best solution, Sarah. And I was working. And a Haredi singer was totally trusting a woman to take over and direct his music video. My journey with Navi, I started writing. I didn't go to psychology. I think I saved a lot of money to my husband, and my father. And I realized that people liked the way I write, and people were helping me also with their response. It was a give and take. I started writing for the Jerusalem Post. I thought, here again, Navi's magic. But my dream was journalism. I had missed a few boats. I was already, a woman, married with kids, having gone through quite a tough experience. I decided that I was going to make my own talk show. I rented a studio. I didn't know where I was going to get the money from. And I had Rabbi Zippel, who happens to be my uncle, as my first guest. And I had no idea how I was going to be on camera, what questions I'm going to ask. I had my niece's wedding a few hours later. I said, I'm doing it. I'm telling you this because when they tell you go out of your comfort zone, that's when life begins. It's so true. I did something totally out of my comfort zone. We were sitting in a studio 3 hours before a wedding, and I'm asking him questions. The camera goes on, and I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm loving it. 3 weeks later, my daughter walks into my room, and she said, "Ma, you're on TikTok." I didn't even know what TikTok was then. The video got almost 1 million views. He became instantly famous. I said, "You're going to come to Israel. People are going to run after you." And people started also recognizing me. I couldn't believe it. My show got picked up by Arutz 7 in Israel. They asked me to come and host a show for their channel. I walked into the studio the first day. Nobody was looking at me. They were just telling me, "Go ahead, start." I see my name, Real Talk with Hadassah Chen, and I couldn't believe it. How did I get to this? Again, Navi's magic. Every step that I took was guided by Navi and by something else, someone else, the Rebbe. My last project that I was involved is making a video for the Rebbe's birthday for the Italian community. We traveled through Milan and Rome, and we asked people, personalities, businessmen, rabbis, who had some kind of contact with the Rebbe to tell them their experience. I thought I grew up knowing the Rebbe. I thought my family knew the Rebbe. I know what I'm doing. I didn't. I wasn't prepared to the experience that I had to go through. I remember going with my crew to Rome, stopping in this big businessman's office, and him coming out and telling me, "Look, I really have 10 minutes, like, what do you want?" And I thought to myself, how am I going to get him to talk about the Rebbe? And the moment he sat in front of me, and he said, "Just tell me the moment you met the Rebbe, they literally cried. Each one of them. 9 interviews. Each one of them cried in front of my camera. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe the power. It was mind-blowing. People who were not religious, shluchim, rabbis, celebrities. So I want to take you back to the moment 2 years before my daughter passed away. A very good friend of mine's daughter died. She lived two streets away from me in Jerusalem. She died in a car accident. Her mother's name is Hindel Swirlov. At the shiva of her daughter, I went over to her. We were good friends. We are good friends. She came over to me and she said, look, through all the letters that I got of strength, I found this letter that it was written by the Rebbe, but it's to your family. It's to the Zippel family. That's my grandparents. Belongs to you. I looked at it. It's a letter that the Rebbe writes to my grandfather, who was sitting shiva for his sister or brother 30 years ago. I said, okay, very nice, but I'm not sitting shiva, so fine. I took it. 2 years later, my daughter passed away. Hindel came to me the first day of shiva with the same letter. And she said, I think you need it now. That's when I understood. Maybe 2 years ago was the preparation. I don't know. But that letter gave me strength every day of shiva. It gave me directions, what to do, what to think, and how to behave. That letter was written 30 years ago to my grandfather, but it was written for me. I know that. It was written for him, for sure. But the Rebbe knew that it was come to me. The Rebbe is with us. He's here. He's every day, in every little single thing. And I'm not saying it because I grew up and I was taught this. It's because I know. I see it. I see the people that surround me. I see everything. I see signs. And it's not because I lost a daughter. My daughter was the beginning, like I said at the beginning of my speech, of a new Hadassah, a better Hadassah. Maybe, yeah, there's a void inside me that's going to stay forever. But the light that keeps on shining and that pretends for me to shine every single day, I wake up thinking, what am I going to do today to make my daughter proud and the Rebbe proud? And believe me, it's a good life. I am scared every single day, scared of all the goodness I have received so far, for being happy, for being strong, for being full of hopes and dreams, and that tomorrow is always a better day, but that today is still amazing, and that the best is yet to come. Thank you so much.